Welcome everybody. My name is Bjorn Berendt, and this webinar is setting up a Google Classroom. What I have found is that there's a lot of schools that have gone Google, and they have done sessions on the features of Google. So you can share with documents, and you can write in live time. Everything is backed up. You can do presentations, spreadsheets, all great uses of Google. One of the things that I don't ever see is a model of how it gets used in the classroom. And that's what I wanted to show you today, is one model that I have found that works quite well with using it in the classroom. So let's go to a teacher Google Doc. So I'm going to close this. Share my desktop. And what you should be seeing now is an example teacher Google Doc. I'm hoping everybody can get here. Basically, if you have Google Docs and you're at your mail, it will come up. If you're at your mail and you click on Documents, it'll bring you here. Now, if you look on the left-hand side, you'll notice My Collections. And here's some collections that I just have that are general collections. And then I have an example science class. And that's what we're going to be working on today, is show you, let's say, an example science class. And inside this example science class, and these are called collections, by the way, I have a class edit with the word science, class view, again with the word science, and students. And if I pull down the students, you'll see I have a student 1 and a student 2, both with the word science on them. It's very important to distinguish what class you're using. If you are in high school and you teach multiple classes, it'll be imperative that you actually put the science and the class in there. It's also very important for the student, because if multiple teachers in your school are using this, the student can't just put his name down. They'll need to be able to identify which one it is. Also, when it gets down to the students can't just say math class and send it to you, because you'll get, well, however many students, 15 collections, all with the word math class on them. So whenever you create a collection and you share it between a student and yourself, I highly recommend creating the student's name and the class it's with. There are two ways to set this up. If you're in a high school or even middle school, I would recommend that you can actually have the students themselves create the collection. If you're in elementary school and you're using this, I would highly recommend that you create each student folder and share it with them individually. Now, I have set this up at both the high school level, the college level, and as low as 3rd grade. I actually have 2 3rd grade teachers that I am working with this, both of which have this set up, and both are using it quite successfully. So let's look at what I have here. And this is my example science class, but let's do an example math class and just create this from scratch. So right now, I'm going to click on My Collections, and I am the teacher. So I'm going to go Create New, Collection, and I want this to be my math class. So because this is just me and only I am seeing, this is just a container for all the items that are in it, I'm just going to call it math class, and I will know that. Now, inside math class, we want to create a class edit and class view. The reason for these two is the class edit, any documents you put in there, the entire class can edit and work on and change. An example of that might be everybody, in this case, science fair topics, where everybody adds in their science fair topic that they want to use. Class view, I find, gets used quite a bit, and if you think of class view as templates that you want the students to use, or assignments or such. I have an assignment here, science fair project, research plan. So this would be something that the students can't re-edit, but they will be seeing. So it's their assignments. It also works out great is if there's an assignment and you have example questions that you want them to answer. And I will cover how that works later on in the presentation. Let's go back to the math class. We know we want to do a class edit and a class view. I'm going to click on the word math class. If I click anywhere else and go new collection, it will always create the collection under there. You can move after the fact, but I highly recommend starting off with it organized the way you want. So I'm going to click on math class. This is going to be shared with all the students. So I'm going to create new collection. It's going to create a collection under my math class. I want to call it math. This is going to be edit. I'm going to click back on math class, and I'm going to create a second one, collection, class view. And these are going to be shared with the students. Notice how I have one with students that has another container. So for my own purposes, I'm going to create another one just called students. Now this is not going to be shared. This is just a container for me to put all the student dropboxes. I like to use the word dropboxes, especially at the elementary school. So we have class view, class edit, and students. Class view, I'm going to click share settings. And you just want to enter in all your students. Student 1, student 2. I have clicked on the class view. So in that case, I want to make sure that they're view. I don't necessarily need to send an invitation, and I'm going to click share. And you'll see my students in there, and they will have view rights to anything that is in that. Here's my class edit. Actually, that shouldn't be class view. Rename. As you can see, I am just renaming this, making sure I keep the convention of the class and the class view. And you'll see that very soon why that becomes very important. Class edit, I'm going to do the same thing. And in this case, I want to make sure that it's edit rights. Share. Okay. At this time, I could add in an assignment. Let's do a math class view. I'm going to go new document. And let's say I actually am giving a test that I want them to fill out. I'm not going to use a form, which is a great use. I'm actually going to use just a plain old document, standard paper document that most people are used to. And let's put some math equations in here. Plus 8. And let's throw a hard one. Please answer. So we have 3 questions that I wish them to answer. I'm going to title this and call it Math Test 1. Click OK. I'm going to close out. Here's my math test. If you can tell, because I was clicked on Class View and created the new document from Class View, it went under there. If it did not, and you're on Home or something, you can just click and drag it in. But now that we have a test in Class View and we have the math class, let's see what it looks like from the student end. So I'm going to minimize this. And to save time, I've logged in as a student. Okay. This is student 1, as you can see right here. And if I go to collection shared with me, you'll notice that they have math class, edit and view, and they have their science class, edit and view. I didn't use the same exact naming convention, so it'd be probably good for your school to come up with one and a recommendation. But you can see where it's very important that I need to know what, as a student, I need to know what class this is for. Now, one of the things I want to do is I need to be able to, if I look under class view in math, I have my math test. I click in here. I can't add any numbers to this yet. So what do we want to do? Well, this is where the second part of creating the Google Doc classroom, creating a classroom in Google Apps. I need to create some type of a Dropbox for my teacher where I can hand in my homework. And this is where I said, if you're an elementary school teacher, you might want to do this manually yourself and use the same way that you created the math class edit, except listing all students, you just want individually. Or what I've at the upper grades is I took the first class, I brought them in here, and I told them to do the exact steps that I'm about to tell you now. I'm logged in as the student. The student can see my class edits. I've told them to click on my collections, create new collection. I want them to use their name and math class. So student 1 dash math. And I'm going to click OK. Now the student, you notice how the student will have several student 1s, and they'll have one for each of their classes. And what is very important is that it needs to be shared with the teacher. So I'm going to click the little arrow next to it, change the share settings. I'm going to choose me, the teacher. I'm going to choose me as an edit rights so that we both can contribute to documents. Close. Now that the student has shared that with me, I can go back to mine. Okay, again, I'm on the teacher one. And you'll see that you have the student math, and that will show up. It will show up under collections shared with me in a little bit. Right here, student 1 math. As a teacher, I will see student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, student 5. I will see all the students. I'm using students, but you could use their name. Do you want to allow? Okay. So what we want to do is, sorry about that. Now I lost my train of thought. we have the math, and we have the science. One of the nice things about Google Docs is even though the math is shared with me, so I'll have 15 student one's math, I can actually take those student one's math and put them into a collection that is up above. And that helps a lot for organization. So even though the student one math is shared with me, I can click on home and I can see student one math here. I can click and drag that collection and put it into my student collection. Looks like I have to refresh. Math class, students, student one. That way, I don't always have to go down to collections shared with me and try and filter through everything that is shared with me. I can just go to student one math and students, and I can get all the information that I'd like. Now, what do we do with that? Now, I'm going back to the student. In lower grades, when it's only one teacher, what I recommend, instead of using math, is to actually call this Dropbox. And what I mean by that is it allows the students, it gives you a term you can use with your students. I know a lot of teachers say, hand in your homework to the homework folder or the homework basket. Well, by using the convention Dropbox, you can say, submit it to your Dropbox. Did you submit to your Dropbox? So that gives you a term that you can use. And so I call this a Dropbox quite often with my students. I'm going to go back to the student because now, how do we use this? Now that we actually have the structure there, we have the students. I have all my student Dropboxes. I have a class edit, a class view. So I now actually have a classroom that I can use in Google Docs, in a convention I can use in Google Docs, and a way of using it. I'm going to go back to the student, which here I am at the student. As a student, I see all my classes right in here. Again, I could create something where I can say all my classes, class edit, class view. I'm choosing not to at this point. But I know in my math class, my teacher told me I have a test that I have to take. I'm going to click on class view. I'm going to see my math test. Now, every single person in the student, every single student needs to take this test, and then they need to take it and hand it in to the teacher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on math test as a student. Remember, I'm as a student. This was in the class view, so I do not have edit rights to this. But what I can do is I can make a copy. So at this point, I'm going to go File, Make a Copy, click OK. It says Copy of Math Tests. What I found, especially at the younger grades, is they will make several different copies and they don't know which one they choose. So I'm going to highly recommend and kind of say, put your name in here. It'll be redundant, but this is the equivalent of putting your name. So student 1, math test 1. So by them putting their name up here and still keeping the original, part of the original title, so you want to keep it as a math test and what it is. But by having them put their name up there, when they come back to it, if they don't see their name plus the event, they know they're not on the right one. So by giving it a name, it allows them to know which one they should be working on. And when they come back, even if they accidentally make several copies, they know which one they're editing. Please answer. So now that I made a copy, I have full edit rights to this. So I'm going to go through and say 4 plus 8. You can ask them to change the color if you wish. I'm going to make it, all my colors must be done in blue. So the answers that I add, 4 plus 8, I'm going to say is 12. Again, I'm going to make it blue again. 9 plus 6, 15. And this is the bonus question, and well, I'm going to think about this, and I'm going to answer, again, in blue. And maybe I don't answer correctly, so I'm going to kind of say 23. So there's my answers. If you notice up here, it still says private to me. There is one more important step. Right now, the student has answered their files. What they have not done is they have not handed in their work. To hand in the work, they must place it in the Dropbox. You don't have, as a teacher, you have zero access to the student's files unless they put it into that Dropbox. To do that, they'll have to close out of this, and they have to get back to what is called their document list. This is called the document list, and it's a great term. The terms I've kind of mentioned is we have Dropboxes, and what you're looking at is the document list. And in a classroom environment, knowing these terms and associating these terms with where you're going is very important, especially in a digital classroom. And again, this is kind of like for mixed classrooms too. So right now I have my test right here, Student 1 Math Test. Because I named it with my name and the word math test, I know that's the one I've been working on. How do I hand that in? Well, I hand that in by just dragging it over here to Student Math. By the way, I'm clicked on Home. So, and I know that it is in there. For one, it's labeled there when I'm clicked on Home. And if I click on Student Math, here's my math test right in there. That's cool. I just handed it in to the teacher. If I open this up again, you'll see it's private to me plus one more. So now, as a teacher, I'm going to go back to the teacher folder. The next step is assessing and grading these things. So I just handed it in as a student, and I left, and I did this at home or however else. It's really nice because you can see the last viewed. So I'm going to go back to the teacher. I get to my document list, and I'm about to correct. So I'm going to go to my math class, students, and I'm going to go to student 1, and I see that student 1 handed in their work. I'm going to open it up. Now, one of the other nice things about Google Docs is it tracks everything that's been changed. So I'm going to go to File, see Revision History, and I can see when it was last revised and by who. So this works out really nice as to know when the student is handing in their work, especially if it's homework, and you're trying to judge whether it's late or ever anything else. The nice thing about revision history is if you have it say, I want you to hand in your homework Thursday, and you as the teacher don't get to correct it until the following Monday. Well, with Google Docs, you can re-edit these things. And if you're a stickler about, well, I need to make sure you handed it on Thursday, or I'm going to correct everything that you did from Thursday, you can go into revision history, slide back to Thursday, click on Thursday, and it says, revert to this one. And then you can grade it on that. At that point, you can say to the student, well, I had to revert yours back to Thursday because you did work after the time it was allowed. So I'm going to close revision history. Now here are my answers. There are two things I can do. Let's say I want to add the word correct, so I'm going to write in red and kind of say correct, red, correct, wrong. And if I really want to get fancy, I can go format, strike through, and say that it's wrong. Now, it's all nice to be able to write in these items, but it's also nice to be able to collaborate with your students around these things. So why is this wrong? Well, or let's say you just want to give them the correct answer. You could write it in red. But but then this wouldn't be training, and I want to highlight one of the other ways that you can communicate, and that is through the use of comments. So I'm going to highlight the word wrong. I'm going to insert a comment. That highlights the word wrong, and it throws a comment on this right-hand side. Now, the nice thing about comments is it allows you to have a conversation with your student around the product. So right here, I'm going to say, did you hear the trick about then 1 by 9. So there's my comment. And then you'll see there, did you learn the trick by adding by 1 by 9? I can add a second, I can edit that one or add a second and say. So at this point, what else can we do? It goes back to the student. Student is Firefox. So the student goes back and you say, I graded your work, take a look. You can update your answer if you want. So the student goes in, he checks his math test. He sees that there is a comment. Oh, I got correct, wrong. Well, I can edit my wrong answer, but I don't want to, or my teacher doesn't tell me to. I look over here and says, do you remember the trick about me? Well, I can actually make a comment that says, yes, I just looked at it wrong. Reply. So the student added a reply. And the student is going to put in their correct answer and says, you know, the actual correct answer is 22. Again, making it blue. So what were we able to do here? We were able to add in comments, correct it, and have a conversation. Really, really good formative feedback, formative assessment with this. And it's all done digitally. This is done, you can have them done in the class, you can do it at home, and it keeps an exact record of the comments that you've made and the corrections. As a teacher, you have to be solid in how you want students to do things. So in this case, you don't want the student to go here and just change the 23. You actually want the student to enter in a second number under it. Again, because it's Google Docs, it does not need to be saved. The student says, yes, I updated it. The teacher goes back in. Actually, in live time, the student went through and saw this. And so as the teacher, yes, I just looked at it. It was wrong. Just looked at it wrong. And the student put in the correct information. So at this point, the student did not get the bonus, but they did get the grade. And you've allowed for the formative assessment, which is a very good part. It's always something I've learned when I was taking a master's class. You know, the constant, it's not the best strategy just to say, here's the test, here's your grade. It's always good to review and allow someone to fix their errors. You may take the average of the grade, or you may do something else, but it'll allow them to look through and really build on and learn. So in this case, I let the student, I corrected it, then I let the student fix their errors, and by letting the student fix their errors, really take a grasp of what the subject matter is. Now that I went back, they fixed their errors, and I'm going to go back and say, okay, now this is correct. Red, and I'm going to grade it. Your grade. And I'm actually going to make the grade, instead of doing a your grade up here, I'm actually going to make the grade a comment. And I'll quickly show you why. And I'm going to, I guess, right up here to please answer. I'm going to insert another comment. And I'm going to say your grade is a 95. Post. Now, another thing that is very important to know about comment versus writing it into another color. A comment can only be changed by the owner. So as the student, I'm going to click on the student. I have no way of changing the student. I can change my edit, but I can't change their student. If I put the grade in as a comment and I log in as the student, which I am now as the student, if it had been anything like the word correct, I could pretend I'm the teacher and say, if it had been up here, as a student, I could have changed it. Because it's a grade here, I can't change the grade that you put in there. That's good. Not that you can't go into the revision history and see that the student changed it and hold them accountable for that. But as a teacher, no matter what, when you look at the grade and the grade is in a comment, they can't change it. It's you put it up there, you can only change it. Now, the student can comment on that and say, I thought since reply. So by doing this, I'm able to get replies from the student and how it should be around here. So again, back up, the student says, I did this. You look, oh, yep. You can go through and you can re-edit this or do, yes. Grade is a 100. So there you go. This is a great example of how you can use Google Apps and a model of way of using Google Apps in the classroom. Thank you very much. Please, once this ends, you will see a, oh, no. Actually, please go to askbj.net. This video will be recorded and it will be posted under recorded webinars at a later time for which you can share with your teachers down below. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.